Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Random Vlogging! Every time I do that, just literally covered in spit. So my original intention was today. I always forget. Today. It's part of my thing. So today, I originally intended to put this out this morning, but I woke up with the worst migraine I have had in years. I could barely see straight. I couldn't leave my bed for like 2 hours, even to go downstairs to get some water so I could take some painkillers to get it to go away. Like I was paralyzed in my bed. So this didn't come out when I wanted it to, but I still want to do this because I have another topic that I need to talk about tomorrow. So I need to get this one out. I told you guys yesterday that I was going to talk about critical thinking because, to be blunt, critical thinking is not taught in schools anymore. Most people do not even know what critical thinking is, and because of that, we have things like death hoaxes and those Facebook posts that go viral and things like that, where things that are complete and total malarkey, that all these people claim are 100% true. It's because of a lack of critical thinking. When I say critical thinking, I actually went and I did a lot of research on what the actual definition of critical thinking is. And that definition is complicated because a lot of people define it in a lot of different ways, which is probably why they don't teach it anymore. Um, uh, Something that happens a lot more now than it used to is people will take words and redefine them over and over and over again. And the more you redefine a word, and the more different ways that you can define a specific word, the weaker all of the definitions become, to the point where nobody learns what any of the words mean anymore. And critical thinking has been diluted over and over and over again, partially by people that don't want people to critical think. So I am going to define it the way that I view critical thinking, and then we're going to talk about it. Critical thinking is quite literally using logic and reason to interpret information that is given to you, um, so that you are not misled by biased information and misleading information, lies by omission. All of those things can be somewhat prevented through the use of critical thinking. And it requires you to be skeptical of most things that you hear. Now, that may seem to some people like that it's a very cynical kind of worldview. It's like, well, you're skeptical, you don't believe anyone. No, it's not that I don't believe anyone. It's the fact that anytime you're given information, you should always be considering the source, considering what the information is actually saying, as opposed to what the information is implying. This is something that everyone should be doing. It's something that I do every time somebody gives me new information, is I will run it through these filters and then go forward. And nobody does this anymore. So to give you an example of what critical thinking is, there is, for those of you that don't live in the US, currently we're having a presidential race. In November, we are going to elect our next president of the United States for the next 4 years. We'll elect them in 4-year terms. That's how it works, if you are unfamiliar. The way that our system works is we operate under a two-party political system. So we have the Democrats, which are the liberal party, and we have the Republicans, which are the conservative party. In the history of the country, since anytime we've had a two-party system, I think there's been a couple elections where there technically wasn't a two-party system, but we're talking about, over 150 years ago that happened. Since we've had a two-party system, there has never been a president elected from anything outside the two-party system. We have always had either a Republican or Democrat or a Whig and I can't remember the other guys. But anyway, two-party system, it's always been. There are always independents that run for the presidential election. They have never gotten anywhere near close to becoming president. So the two big parties right now are fighting amongst themselves to find out who they are going to put forward as their official nominee for the presidency election in November. And this election has been probably the worst election I have been alive for. There is rampant lying from everybody. Like, literally, there's not a single candidate who has not lied to your face in this election from either party. There are some candidates that lie more than others. I think Hillary is one of the top liars. And I think Trump is the top liar. Based on on who's figuring out who's lying and who's not. And that's where critical thinking comes in, because you'll have all these articles that say, well, Bernie Sanders lies more than anyone else, and here's all data. And then you'll have another article that goes, no, Hillary Clinton lies more than anyone else. And then you'll have 400,000 articles that say, Trump is crazy, because he is. And he lies more than anyone in the entire world. Look at this. He lies more than Hitler. It's crazy and it's bonkers. And by using critical thinking, we can actually look through and see what is actually being said, the actual facts. And we can start to realize that 90% of the information that is out there is either outright false or lies by omission that are specifically designed to sway you to a specific particular belief structure. That's how it goes. So, to give you an example, Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is hilarious, first of all. He's an amazing comedian. He took over The Daily Show from Jon Stewart, I think it was last fall, and has been doing a phenomenal job. Jon Stewart was a phenomenal host. The entire time that he hosted the show, he was bonkers good. And one of the things that people liked about him is he didn't pull his punches. He generally leaned towards the liberal side more than the conservative side, but he was one of those people that he wanted facts to come out as opposed to opinions, and he fought for it over and over and over again. He did. Trevor Noah has been taking a little bit of shit because he's not quite. He pulls his punches, and I don't think he does it intentionally or anything like that. I think because he's new to the position, he doesn't have, like, the reason Jon Stewart could get away with things that he did is because he was Jon Stewart. He had a history behind him of being a very fair and even moderator, and that gave him the ability to be able to say things without kind of being, crucified by the press and everything like that. And I don't think Trevor Noah has really been in the game long enough until he recently had, what was her name? Committee chair, Democratic National Committee Chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So the national committees of both parties, the Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee, these are the groups that actually nominate the person that's going to run for president. So there's a big convention. I think it happens relatively soon here. I'm not that good with politics. I actually don't really follow. I normally don't follow the primaries. I just wait until we have an elected person or two candidates, and then I figure out which one is, the less bad. So what happens is these committees have this big convention where all of their different delegates vote for who it is, and whoever gets the most delegates, they're the ones that get it. And there's been a lot of controversy over this system and everything like that, and these things called superdelegates, which the rest of the delegates are actually based on the popular vote, and the superdelegates get to choose whoever they want. And so some people are mad about that. It's really, really confusing. However, in the Democratic Party, there has been a lot of accusations that the chair, the committee chair, this Mrs. Schultz here, that she has been attempting to prevent Bernie Sanders, who's one of the two leading candidates right now. You have Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. and they've basically been trying to prevent him from being able to get his message out, from being able to really debate Hillary Clinton and things like that. Like, it's really been difficult for him, and they think that the committee chair is doing that intentionally. And so Trevor Noah, in his style of the way he does, he asks her, like, point blank, he goes, "No, I'm going to kind of paraphrase them. Is Bernie Sanders being cock-blocked by the DNC?" Which was funny, but he did ask the question. And this is her answer, and I'm actually going to read it in its entirety, and then we're going to talk about the critical thinking aspects of this. So, she laughed for a little bit because it's funny to be told, "Hey, are you cock-blocking this guy?" Like, that was hilarious, and it was very well done to take her off her guard, to hopefully force her to give an honest answer. And technically she did here, but she gave a political answer. So this is her answer. She goes, "You know, as powerful as that makes me feel, I'm not doing a very good job of rigging the outcome or blocking anyone from getting their message out. The reality is that I have a job as National Party Chair that is one that requires a thick skin. It requires me to be able to absorb the body blows so our candidates can stay above the fray." And that was her answer. She goes on and says a little bit more, but that's the statement that I want to focus on specifically, because if you just take it at face value, it sounds like she's denying. She's like, "No, of course I didn't. Why would I do that? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Of course I'm not doing it." She didn't actually say that. She actually didn't say anything in that statement. And if we look at it critically, let's look at the first sentence that she says. "You know, as powerful as that makes me feel, I'm not doing a very good job of rigging the outcome or blocking anyone from getting their message out." So what she has said, quite literally, is, "You know, as powerful as that makes me feel," is a non-sentence. It doesn't say anything. As powerful as that makes me feel was literally put in there to meet the joke that Trevor Noah had said. It was a joke meeting a joke. So let's throw that out. We don't need that. "I'm not doing a very good job of rigging the outcome or blocking anyone from getting their message out." This is a lot of people would read that as like, so obviously I'm not doing it. Because the implied wording there is, if I was doing this, then I'm not doing a very good job of it. That is technically a lie by omission. Because what it is, and there's actually a real term for it, and I can't remember what it is, but what you do is instead of outright saying, "Well, no, I'm not doing that," because it would be a lie, you say, "Well, if I was doing that, I must be doing a really good job." And you would leave it at that, because you would imply, because I'm not doing a good job, I'm obviously not doing it. However, by not actually saying, "No, I'm not doing that," if it comes up that you actually were doing something like that, you can quite literally in court of law say, "I never lied about that. I never said I wasn't doing that." Well, what about this? That statement, "I never said I wasn't doing that." So in that statement, she actually didn't say she wasn't attempting to stop Bernie Sanders' message getting out. She gave you a non-statement. That statement means nothing. It is a hypothetical, because the implied, "if I was trying that, I'm not doing a very good job," that it's a non-statement. She didn't say anything there. To give you another example, if a man is cheating on his wife and his wife confronts him and goes, "Hey, I found these panties and they're not mine. Are you sleeping around on me?" If he says, "No, I'm not," he's lying. However, if he says, "Oh, wait. If I was sleeping around on you, do you really think I would be stupid enough to leave her panties in our room for you to find?" I mean, really. It's the same basic principle as what she's doing here. She is basically she's trying to get people to believe her without actually bold-faced lying. So from that statement alone, She said nothing. She hasn't denied, she hasn't confirmed. However, in general, if you have to make a statement like that, you're generally lying, and you don't want people to find out. So it's a very, very, it's a very, very tactful way for her to be able to lie without lying. So the next thing she does is the reality. The next thing she says is the reality is that I have a job as National Party Chair that is one that requires a thick skin. It requires me to be able to absorb the body blow so our candidates can stay above the fray. The question was, are you cock-blocking Bernie? The first half of it, we've already figured out, was a non-answer. So it doesn't really matter. Throw it away. It was a hypothetical that doesn't exist. The answer to the question she gave, are you cock-blocking Bernie Sanders, was, hey, you know what? I have to have a thick skin. Having nothing to do with the question, are you cock-blocking Bernie Sanders? Her response was to answer a completely different question and imply a completely different question was being asked. Well, what do you mean by that? So her answer was, the reality is that I have a job as National Party Chair that is one that requires a thick skin. It requires me to be able to absorb the body blows so our candidates can stay above the fray. So what she is trying to imply there is that what was just said to her was an attack on her, and she has to have a thick skin because she gets attacked regularly. So what that is that's actually changing the question. It's redirecting the question. Are you cock-blocking Bernie Sanders? Hey, I've got to have a thick skin. You know, it's, you know, I've got to have a thick skin. People are going to say, you know, lies about me all the time. They're going to call me bad names, but that's what I do. I got a thick skin. Again, she didn't say no. She actually didn't even answer the question. She redirected it to make it look like she is the victim. All right. Again, this is very subtle, but very, very subtle, but sorry, brain is gone right now. Intentional manipulation. She is quite literally changing the question because she doesn't want to be asked, are you trying to stop Bernie Sanders? Because first of all, I'm not sure exactly what the legality of that would be, but I'm fairly certain somebody could bring a lawsuit against her if she outright said it. And if she lies about it and it later comes out, that creates an even bigger issue. A good example of that, if a company refuses to pay overtime to an employee, according to most state laws, and it's different in every state, but at least in Wisconsin, the state that I live in, you have about a 2-year window to be able to bring them to court saying, hey, you owe me money. And basically what happens is if they find that they didn't pay them, they will be forced to pay, give them back pay for all the stuff they were supposed to give for about 2 years. So all of the overtime they should have gotten for an entire 2 years, they have to pay out in addition to penalties, just fees for being dumbasses. However, if they find out that they intentionally did it, that they knew that they were doing it and they did it intentionally, it increases to 3 years. So they have to pay an additional year of back pay. And it gets a significantly higher fine. One of the ways that they can prove that they did it intentionally is if they lie about it. If they claim we didn't do this and then they find out that they did, that is proof of intention. It's like they lied, they knew they were lying here. That's proof of intention. You lose. So that's the same thing that could happen here. If a lawsuit were to come up, and again, I don't actually understand the legality if this is even possible, but if a lawsuit was to come up and she claimed here that she wasn't doing it when in all actuality she was, and they can prove that, if she lied about it, it makes it very difficult for her to go, you know what, I didn't realize I was doing it. It was completely unintentional. My bad. Please don't, find me into oblivion. When you lie about it, that's it. They go, no, 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 no. You knew what you were doing because here you said you weren't doing it. You said point blank, I'm not doing this, and then we found out you were doing it. That's intent. And they could do it. So that's why she's doing that. Now, everyone that was watching that thought it was a very good answer, and they would just kind of go with, oh, obviously no one's trying to hurt Bernie Sanders because nobody uses critical thinking anymore. I know so many people that watched this that thought, oh, it's a really great response, and that covers everything. We're set. We're done, because they didn't actually look at it. Critical thinking is all involves looking at the source. Okay, let's look at this woman. She has a reason to lie about this. If she is found to be doing something wrong, she could lose her job. She could theoretically be sued. I think Sanders has already attempted to bring a lawsuit against against her or against Hillary's campaign or something like that, because again, there's some underhanded shit going on. So she has a vested interest in being found innocent in people thinking that she did nothing wrong. So that's going to bias what she says. She has a vested interest in it. If she's 100% truthful, she could hurt herself. So obviously she has a reason to lie. Now we look at the actual things that she said and what she didn't say, which we've already done. We found out that the first sentence that she said was a non-sentence. It didn't mean anything. She spoke entirely in hypothetical, and didn't actually commit to anything. The second one was not the answer to the question. She answered a question that was never asked. The question that she answered was, hey, does it suck when people say mean stuff about you that isn't true? That makes a lot more sense. If Trevor Noah had asked her, by the way, a lot of people are accusing you of doing these things. Is that hard to deal with? Is it difficult when people say things that aren't true about you? The reality is that I have a job as National Party Chair, and that is, I'm going to read this again. The reality is that I have a job as National Party Chair that is one that requires a thick skin. It requires me to be able to absorb the body blows so our candidates can stay above the fray. That makes a hell of a lot more sense. That's the question she answered. That wasn't the question that was asked. So she never actually answered that question, and she did it unbelievably well. She did it a very practiced, very precise way to not answer a question that she didn't want to answer. I've not been able to watch, I've only been able to watch a short clip of that entire episode, so I don't know how Trevor Noah responded to it afterwards, or if he tried to dig deeper or anything. If I had to take a guess, due to the fact that the entire article that I read about this, he never really pressed her for an answer on that. I'm going to assume that he just went, okay, she answered, now I go on to my next question. And again, in the position that he's in, I'm not saying that he's an entertainer. As much as people kind of consider Jon Stewart a journalist and all the things, because a lot of times he found out stuff that most journalists didn't, because they don't use critical thinking, which is part of their job. Jon Stewart was an entertainer. And he said multiple times on when he was interviewed about it, he actually had a debate once about it where he goes, excuse me, like people are saying, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? He's like, excuse me, I am an entertainer. Like, I create an entertainment show that makes fun of the news. Why in the hell are you comparing me to you, who is a journalist? Like, it is so far beyond crazy that you would be comparing yourselves to me. That would be like comparing an Olympic gold medalist in sports to, the Harlem Globetrotters. They're entertainers. Yes, are they talented basketball people? Yes. But they're entertainers. A lot of the stuff that they do is strictly for entertainment purposes. It's a completely separate thing, and that is the same thing for Trevor Noah. He's not a journalist; he's an entertainer, and he's a very, very good one. And he is in a very interesting situation where he has the ability to bring to light facts and things like that. But he's still kind of new, and he still has to watch out for what he says, because he could lose this show right as quickly as he could. So I don't really blame him for not digging deeper into this, because that can become super, super bad. And can cause a lot of issues, and he doesn't have the reputation to protect him from the backlash that Jon Stewart did. However, she said nothing. She lied by omission, and that is what critical thinking is being able to sit there, look over it, and go, okay, so we know she's lying now. We don't actually know what the truth is. All we know is that she's lying, and that's kind of what deception detection is. You don't actually know what the truth is. You just know when someone is lying, and that's what's happened here. This is critical thinking, folks. This is what we need to start doing. Whenever you read an article about something, one of the things that I hate most right now are the articles, and I'll actually talk about this tomorrow, all the articles about the anti-gay legislation, because they're massively biased. They use leading titles. They use misleading titles. They use misleading facts and downright lies in their articles. It's bonkers how much of this stuff is a complete lie. And this isn't just specifically limited to that. This is literally every hot button issue that you see a news article or a news report on. They're lying to your face. And if we had more people that understood what critical thinking is, we would have a much better, we would have a much smarter population. We would have a much better run country. Because right now the people in power are lying to your face and doing whatever they want. And we are sitting there and just going, oh, well, they said that it didn't happen, so that's perfectly fine. And then we can't understand why our country is going to shit. So, guys, start critically thinking. Don't believe everything that you see on the internet. Don't believe everything that the news tells you. 90% of it is a lie, quite literally. Look into stuff. Look, when people give you studies, look into the studies. See if they link the studies. See if they're making shit up, because it happens so often. And because the internet and because technology has gotten so much better, it's so easy now to make pure lies look official and look reliable, that you can't wander around thinking that everything that you see is true from anybody, beyond like people that you personally know, that you actually trust, because you've known them for a while. Stop believing people. Stop listening to this crap. Start thinking for yourselves. That's what critical thinking is, and that's why we need it. That's all for me today. I will see you guys tomorrow for another video that's just going to piss a bunch of people off. So that'll be fun. Bye-bye.